So, this is the Soul Mission and Prosperity Workshop. My name is Serenity Iris, and I'm super happy that you are here and catching this live or in the replay. Welcome. What we are going through today is something I've never done before in my previous trainings, masterclasses, workshops. And what that is I'm going to be walking you through the journey that I have gone through. So, included in that is how I turned my annual income into my monthly income, how I've done millions of sales, but that's not really the point of this. This journey sharing is really about the soul's mission, and in particular, my soul's mission, but we're really talking about your soul's mission as well. And in this story, I want you to be listening to different key points and to kind of identify, okay, where are you in your journey and how might this apply? Where do you feel there might be some really great things, some strengths that are emerging that you are very fully aware of, or maybe some strengths or gifts that are emerging that you can feel like they're in their baby stages, right? The infancy, early stages that you're wanting to develop. And there are going to be aspects of it where we want really strong connections and links from each of those stages. So I'll be doing a little bit of uh, writing some of the main points out so that you can visually see this. And there are essentially six main themes here. And I felt inspired to share this because in the world right now, there's a lot of change, right? We can see it. People are talking about it. We can feel it. It's in our personal lives. It's within our own individual journeys. So to navigate all of this change that's happening around us by being strong, calm, and steady is a superpower. And if you don't feel strong, calm, and steady in this moment or generally, that's okay because, we all go through the waves. It's just understanding that there are tools that can bring us back there when we choose. And so part of that is also accessing your spiritual gifts, um, leaning even more into your creativity, even more into your intuition, even more into your connection with your higher self, I believe is what's going to help the leaders of the world today. And if you're showing up to watch this, you are a leader. So, among all the noise, the chaos, the distractions, if you're able to come back to knowing who you are, embracing your gifts, knowing that it's okay and safe to share those gifts in service to others, in service to your soul mission, a lot of things start to line up and align, including on the level of prosperity, sustenance. So we're going to be um, bringing the dream, the etheric, the energetic, also into the practical. And I'm going to be doing that today, in particular, with the string of my examples and stories and journeys. But I share this not to I only ever share this to impress upon you of what is possible. And of course, you're going on your journey and it is completely unique to you. There is only one of you. And while there's like all of this unifying collective energy that we can tap into, your particular expression of it is needed. And so that's why we're here today. All right. So, many, many years ago, over, it's been over 20 years now, when my mom had sat us down and let us know that her cancer had returned for the second time. I immediately felt to ask her, "Oh, so what's your dream?" And that just popped out of my mouth. I didn't ask about the prognosis or anything like that at doctor's appointments. I just asked her, "What's your dream?" And instinctively, intuitively, I knew that if she had something to live for, because I knew that raising us kids was not, was a big part of her journey in her life, but that was not really her soul's purpose and mission. And she kind of like blurted out, like almost reactively, like, well, Japanese women aren't asked about their dreams. It's like, what? She just shot that idea down because of like half a country, like where her, her family of origin was not asked about their dreams. And so I was like, well, I'm asking you. And so she paused, she got quiet for a moment, and she had been dabbling as a writer, writing articles for local papers. And she said, my dream is to be a full-time writer because she had an admin job and she really loved the expression, the writing, the communicating. And so I basically said, well, go and write. And then the rebuttal came. She was like, yeah, but well, how can I do? So we just paused that. And then not too long after, she gives me a call and says, I did it. I did it. I figured out a way to do it. And I'm like, what did you do? I figured out a way to write full time. So she had talked to someone who had guided her in a direction that would allow her to basically leave her part-time admin job and to go full-time into her writing. And then basically from that moment on till the end, she was a writer. And so I share this, and she did pass when she was 54 years old. I share this because this is a big part of why I do what I do to this day. Even when I was a naturopathic doctor with the brick and mortar clinic, seeing lots of patients one-on-one, it was my entry point into helping people live better, fuller, healthier lives. And I also understood in that moment, it's not just about our health, but it's like, what are we living for? Like, what is our dream that's in our heart? So, what is your dream that's in your heart? What, if you know this, amazing, but what is your soul's mission, the purpose, the reason you get up? And sometimes it's a little foggy. Sometimes it's not super clear. And it's not as if it was super clear in that moment. I was just being a daughter. I was not in the capacity of being a doctor or a coach or anything like that. I was actually in the middle of finishing a degree in music and songwriting. So healing and helping people in that capacity was not even on my radar. So it's an interesting thing. Steve Jobs talks about, you can't really connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect the dots looking backwards. So this is what I'm doing. I've been doing a lot of contemplation and reflection for myself and my own business and journey, but for you as well, because wherever you are, no matter where you are, there have been either breadcrumbs or like moments where it feels like a, sledgehammer, like, a huge flag waving, cat trying to capture your attention from the experiences of your own life that indicate, yeah, this is it. This is my soul's journey. This is why I am here. This is my purpose. This gives me meaning to life. So we're gonna bring out the marker. You can take notes if you like, if that helps you. But number one is, yeah, your dream. What is your dream? And connected with that is purpose. And then there will likely be a specific soul mission or a series of them. So that's number one. So in that moment, reflecting back, I realized that I love to draw out from people what's really in their heart. Like, what is that big desire, that dream that's in their heart that maybe they haven't been able to yet express or share or admit to themselves? It can feel big. Like, my mom was like, well, Japanese women, like, no, like I don't dream because I'm a Japanese woman and I was never asked about my dream. But she had it there. It had been there. So there's something deep within you as well. So drawing out people's dreams. And then the second thing I realized that I learned was that recognizing patterns in terms of what might be limiting and holding people back. So now, at the time, I didn't call it a blind spot, but at this point now, I realize that that's a blind spot. And I'll share the link close by. You'll see a link for the blind spot breakthrough call if you are interested in this. And at any point of one of these six themes, you are feeling like, oh, okay, that's the area that I would love clarity around. You can book a blind spot call. And people really, truly have breakthroughs on these calls. These are life-changing. So I am in the fast forward a little bit. Her health actually does deteriorate, and I find myself in the intensive care unit of the hospital in basically about the last month of her life. She was there, kind of going in and out of. She was conscious, but not like super alert, like pretty drugged up. But it was a beautiful opportunity to be able to continue to ask her pretty important questions, to just be present with her. And in that time, I realized that I could see who the real healers were. So the doctors, the nurses would come in and out of the rooms, and you could tell the people who were just plucking it in and just not really fully present. But then there were some who were amazingly present, and I could see it. My mom was very responsive, and I had a very unusual experience because I it's the kind of environment that typically a lot of people would feel kind of down, right? Like if someone is basically in the last days of their life or critically ill, it can be scary and sad. For some reason, probably divinely guided, I felt a lightness and just a pure love. Like every time I would be on my way to the hospital, in the hospital, beside her, and that presence was such a gift that was revealed to me. And I was like, what am I doing building a career as a musician? Like healing this, like I could not have learned it any other way except maybe personally, but thank goodness I learned it through her. It was one of her gifts that she had passed on to me is that without our health and well-being, there's not much that we can do in this physical world here. And so I I decided I wanted to become a doctor. Like, okay, forget the music stuff. Songwriting's nice. That's all lovely. Yes, yeah, people, they enjoy my shows and the songs, and that's all nice and lovely. But like, this is what I want to do. But I didn't know how to do that. Like I hadn't even taken high school biology, like because I was so focused on music. I basically scrapped any course that was not required for me to just get through and graduate. And so I didn't make that transition right away, but I could feel that drive bubbling up within me in a very big way. But I decided to give the music thing, continue on that path, really give it a go. Like, what am I doing? I just did a degree in songwriting. Okay, so I'm going to do this professionally, which I did, but it still kept calling on me and pulling me in the direction of health and healing. So as I was pregnant, I was applying to different programs, got in. I almost became a chiropractor, but I decided that naturopathic medicine was the way to go. So I basically completely did a 180, left the music career where I was working in a publishing commercial music house where they published commercials and movie soundtracks and all kinds of things. I was also performing. I left all of that to pursue medicine, natural health and well-being. And so that was a pretty major pivot. So if you are feeling like you are going through some kind of a pivot, or you can just feel and are part of like the changing world now, that's amazing. That's great. It's a huge opportunity. And I know it can feel scary. I was definitely scared. I was like, what am I doing? And there, at no point was there like a safety net for me on the physical level. It's not like so my mom had passed. I was basically on my own, and it wasn't like I had anywhere to go home to. Like wherever I was home, which I've learned to accept and embrace now. But it was a major time of transition and um, taking a chance, a risk, but really following following my heart. And I did not know how it was going to end up. I didn't know how it would turn out. I didn't know if I could end up figuring something out. I didn't even really know if I could get into any programs because I had to learn biology, learn chemistry, like learn all of these sciences from scratch. And it was one of the steepest learning curves ever for me academically. Even though I had done very well in school, it was like a real challenge for me. And I did it. And I did it. So you might not be embarking in like your own academic pivot and change and taking organic chemistry. I hope you're not. However, you might be going through your own version of, oh my gosh, there are all these new skills to learn, and you have this dream and vision inside you, and you're not quite sure how exactly it's going to translate. Well, that's okay. It means that you're right on track. It might mean that there's some new skills to pick up and to learn. And in fact, I believe the learners of the earth are really going to be the ones who win. Those of us who are able to unlearn, right? Unlearn things that maybe have not served us in the past or are not going to serve us in the direction that we're wanting to go into. And really at the base of it was a pretty big identity shift and mindset shift because I was steeped in the world of music and just dipping my toes into the water of the world of healing and learning these different sciences and the art of healing. And so, whatever that kind of transition is for you, maybe you've uh, done a certain amount of education in one direction and you thought you were meant for this kind of career path, and then there's something in your heart that's calling you. I want you to feel into that and acknowledge it and honor that. It does not mean that you necessarily have to do a 180 like I did from music to being a naturopathic doctor. It might mean that it's an opportunity to merge it. I'm going to be talking a little bit more as we go along in the journey of how I am currently doing that. So it's possible, but just to start to take note, just to start to take note. So, okay, so fast forward a little bit. I find myself, I successfully passed my boards and became a licensed naturopathic doctor. I opened up a brick and mortar clinic. Mm, that was my dream. And a few of my professors caught wind of that. And one of them like sat me down for kind of like an intervention. I think actually two of them spoke to me. And they said, it's really hard. Like most people generally join someone else's practice, but for you to like open your own clinic, because I was also set on buying the location too, which was like unheard of. And looking back on it, it was quite risky. But that was my dream, and I feel like I was really blessed to be in that kind of naivete because I just was so passionate about this is the vision because I had worked in other people's clinics. It wasn't like I didn't have real world experience. I had actually built up a craniosacral therapy practice while I was still in student as a on my way to becoming a naturopathic doctor, but I had learned how to build up a private practice to a, like I got a taste of that in the real world, booking clients, getting paid, booking rental space, doing promotion, things like that. And so I knew that this was the dream. So I went full force into that. And there were things that had changed in my family situation where I basically went from a two income household to my one income and doubled the responsibilities. So I had my home and the clinic property to cover, and the family income was dropped down to my income. And so I was like, okay. Well, in my exuberance, I had the mindset that, okay, well, it's gonna work out. And then when it wasn't working out, I was like, what's going on? Because I was reading all the right books on mindset, positive thinking, business, money, I was taking all of that in. And when it wasn't happening the way I could see in my mind, I knew that something was off. And it wasn't from lack of effort because I was putting in the hours. I was grinding. I was showing up early, staying late, doing everything I could to turn it around. And I had patients, I had clients coming through, but it wasn't enough to cover that big gap. And there was no safety net. I was on the hook for two big mortgages. There's severe penalties if I were to back out of it. But giving up was not, it's just not even in me, right? So I was like, okay, I'm missing something. There's clearly a blind spot. And so what I realized was it was good to be aware of different mindsets, especially around money. But there was a big gap in that I didn't have proper mentorship. I didn't even have a proper system. So here are the three pillars that are super, super important. And I'm able to identify those three pillars now on reflection. And in that season, in that phase, I was just living it. And I did turn it around with number one, a system, proven system. Number two was mentorship, someone who can identify help. So I had a mentor. He helped identify my blind spots and also like the great potential that I wasn't tapping into as effectively as I could. And then number three is a supportive environment, not just externally, but internally as well. So one, two, three. System, mentorship, environment. Those three pillars were essential. So that transition from being in the brick and mortar clinic, not knowing how I was going to pay the bills, basically feeling like I was drowning in them, paying for groceries from borrowed money, feeling sick to my stomach. So turning that situation around to then being able to be having a great flow of income through the one-to-one practice. At this point, I was not doing any kind of um, coaching or mentorship or mindset work with people. It was just for my naturopathic business. I was able to do that. I then transitioned into the online mentorship that you're seeing now, getting into mindset, helping other practitioners, helping other business owners to thrive. And eventually I was doing both in parallel. And I also wrote a book and like my stress, which was like super high, was like normal, right? I felt much healthier. My energy, I was happier. So a friend of mine was like, how are you doing all this? Because she saw the progression. She saw how like terrified I was. And then she saw the progression. She was like, "How? Like, what did you do? What did you do?" So what I did was This is number two. Space on the page. So I really went deep into mindset, but we also had, let's see, the three pillars, right? So I plugged into a system and basically also through trial and error cultivated my own version of the system that worked. Um, Enlisted the help of mentorship. And it was one of those things that was like, when I was considering, oh my gosh, when I was when I was considering the investment. So I was basically praying, I was asking for help because I knew there was a gap and I was at the max of my own personal efforts and it just wasn't working. It just wasn't enough. And so when help came along and I intuitively knew, oh, this is it. This is it. Okay, this is what I've been asking for. And then it came time to the investment part, and I was like, oh no, I don't know if this is what I was asking for because it's just going to put me more in debt faster. That was what the programming, my paradigm, my current mindset at the time was saying, like, oh, this is really risky, this is scary. But really, if I hadn't made the move to bet on myself to invest, it would have been way riskier to keep going the way I had been going because it was like basically leading to bankruptcy, like a plane, watching a plane crash, because it was the expenses were way higher than the income that I was generating. So that mentorship, and it was with the system, and it took some time and some dedication, but that's the thing that turned it around, and then the supportive environment. Oh, okay. So that's that's really what I learned. I learned that I basically knew how to turn off the taps, right? Because I was stressed out of my mind. I was like, how am I doing? And I was so focused on the worrying and the scarcity. Um, Even when I had bookings, patients would call to cancel or reschedule, and I was like, oh my gosh, but I need this. Don't they understand that I need, so it's coming from a place of need and want and fear, scarcity. I was basically turning off the taps to the flow of abundance. So what shifted was really amazing because I took responsibility. I did not like the circumstance that I was in, but I took full responsibility for it. So when I did that, I understood, well, I created that. I turned off the taps. I've been tired. I haven't felt like I knew how to handle even more. I was doing my best, but it just wasn't going anywhere. And when I took full responsibility for the circumstance that I had ultimately created, the stress, the like, not just the business, like other than my relationship with my daughter, like everything felt like, huge room for improvement. That was the moment when I took responsibility, that was the moment that it started to shift for me. Because then I could also say, well, if I turned off the taps, it means that I can turn on the taps. And that doesn't necessarily mean that I could do it by myself, because clearly, uh, if I could have done it myself, I would have. Like it was a lot of time struggling and suffering. So uh, I was open to that. And I had been super independent, super capable. Um, from a very young age. So that was programmed into me. And for some reason, probably by divine grace, I allowed myself to ask for help. Actually, I'm just realizing this as I'm speaking this and sharing this, that I felt I knew my calling, the dream is to become, a successful naturopathic doctor, not just to get through the school, but to like actually help people with it. That was the dream, right? So number one, my dream. And then number two, to shift things at the material level was really understanding that I had a mindset, where the blind spots were, and working with those three pillars. So that was pretty huge, and allowing myself to receive help. And there's receivership is very deep. This is the divine feminine that we're talking about, is our capacity to receive, our capacity to honor ourselves, to recognize the value that's inherent just because we are, right? And to fully open to receiving all the abundance and all the prosperity that is meant for you. And when we say, oh, well, no, I don't need that, or um, I don't need help, it's like we're telling the universe, I want this, but no, thank you. And it's like, and that's what I was doing. I was blocking it because I was like, oh, I'm a good student. I can read my way through this. I can learn my way out of this. So I was like consuming all these like free videos and like those free trainings, and it just wasn't working. It all made sense. It all resonated, but it was not a system. It was here, there, and everywhere. And so that investment, which felt like my paradigm was shouting at me, this is stupid, this is crazy, you can do it yourself, but I wasn't doing it myself. You've got this. Why are you spending all this money when like that's what you need? And you're like digging yourself in a hole even further. Like my saving grace was that 1% of me that was like, no, this is it. This is my intuition speaking. So thank goodness, because that is what allowed me to pull myself out of it with guidance and help and support. But it like I was doing the work. So taking full responsibility, that was huge. So this is where it started to get interesting, because I had built up the clinic to a point where I wasn't, thank goodness I wasn't living off of borrowed money anymore. I was covering everything, all the huge big expenses, and living, and my daughter had started dance classes in a community dance school. And it was very sweet. I don't know about you, but sometimes like music or just the arts just gets to me. And so I'm sitting in the theater of her recital, her dance recital, those like red velvet seats. And I'm sitting there, and the classes are, each class, each group, they're coming on in this program, and I'm seeing like a number of her friends are in like several classes, and I'm like, oh, well, that's interesting. They weren't just doing the one ballet class, they were doing like a ton of others. So it's my daughter's turn to come up, and she's on stage, and the music and the costumes are just so beautiful. And I'm like, the tears are flowing because just how beautiful it is. But then something gets to my heart even deeper, and I'm realizing, oh, she's been saying for almost all her life that she wants to be a dancer when she grows up. Any like questions of, well, what about this? Or have you ever no, I want to be a dancer. Um, and she was young enough that there there's kind of like an opening in the arts world where you kind of do generally have to start young, and then go pretty committed if you want a chance at pursuing something either professionally or more seriously to a higher level. And the one class in the community dance school, while they were very amazing and sweet, wasn't going to cut it for this young, beautiful soul who is saying she wants to be a dancer. So I can feel like, oh my gosh, she is so talented and beautiful, and she's only doing the one class, and that's not going to cut it. Coming from a music background, like when I got serious, it was like multiple like sessions and teachers and classes, hours and hours every single day to train and to get to a very high level. So I knew what it took, and my heart sank, and I was like crying, not only because it was beautiful, but crying because I was like, oh my gosh, am I repeating the uh the cycle? I grew up with my mom who is a single mom, and so I'm in this spot where I'm a single mom, and am I repeating that? Am I passing that on to my daughter that there's scarcity in this world? And oh my gosh, I feel emotional just like going back to that story right now. Like, and I wasn't going to have it. That was not going to be the story for my daughter. That was not going to be the story for me. And so in that theater, in those cushy red seats, where we were sitting, I just decided I am going to do better. I am, I have to do better. And so, and it's not that I was doing badly, but it was like, it was enough. It was good. And I could feel that there was more. So when I was investigating and looking into it, because it had dramatically shifted my life and my business, I wanted to help others with this. And I was looking into possibly becoming a coach. I was just sniffing around. I just wanted information. And I got on a conversation and I had no intention of investing in anything or buying anything. I just wanted some information of what's possible because I could feel like I was ready for the next level. And so I got on this call and it became clear that that is what I wanted to do, was to include the mentorship. And so I ended up going for it. And so simultaneously to running the clinic, seeing patients, I also started to coach and help and mentor. And this part of it, this was a really interesting identity shift and also a shift in my offerings. So it went beyond just, okay, well, I'm gonna see you for a naturopathic initial visit and some follow-up visits in the office. All of a sudden, I was now able to, and I chose to go with a higher end offer, very comprehensive, very deep, where the transformation was very huge for my clients. And so this third piece here was pretty important. It's your offer. It was my offer. When that crystallized, it meant that I could have conversations with people. I could do educational trainings or master classes. I could share in a different way, knowing that I could offer someone a pretty remarkable, huge transformation. And I know that I was able to do this because I had done it myself. And so then once I started working with people and basically had them go through the system, their lives changed, their businesses changed. And the offer, and this is what's very fascinating to me even to this day, is that it continues to grow and evolve. So it might be that you are in a place where maybe similar to me, you're seeing clients one to one, and it can be very, very fulfilling. And there can also be, or there is a time cap, right, within your schedule. You can only book so many patients or clients in the week and then you max out. And so I could see and feel that maxing out. I was pretty fully booked, and I had to basically dedicate some time to nurturing, building this coaching and mentoring business, which I was able to do. And what eventually happened was I got to a place where the coaching and the mentorship income and also the impact, which is even more important to me, was well, it matched the income, the revenue level matched. So then I was like, oh, this is interesting. I think I have some options now. And then it surpassed the income from the brick and mortar clinic. So then I really had options. I was like, well, I can continue on, I can continue doing both, or I can lean into one or the other to really allow it to grow. And I ended up choosing the mentorship. And that's not the solution for all people. It just was for me personally. And it took some time to to adjust to that. I was like, what am I doing? I'm gonna get rid of like my doctor credentials. And and I invested so much time and money into that path. And so I eventually actually sold my clinic, which was like a monumental shift in the identity. So you you might be going through some kind of a shift in your own identity. And it might not be as dramatic as like, selling the business that you have built, but it might be something that if you were to draw out those specific gifts or those talents and embrace them even more, or share a part of your own journey and your story, how powerful and impactful that might be. Uh, yeah, there's so many variations of this, and the journey to fully accepting it. So when I finally fully accepted it and embraced it, it did feel freeing. I also felt, there was some sadness because I loved all my patients, and I really enjoyed that work. And I knew that there was a next level for me. So the offer really helped to crystallize how I was showing up in the world. All right, we're getting into the fourth thing that I learned. So it wasn't just that I had to learn some new skills, and I had to really shift some pretty big mindsets, especially around, like, continue to shift around money, because I wasn't just charging a couple $100s for a session. Now I was charging multiple thousands of dollars for my offer. So that, for me and for many people I've worked with all over the world, is it's a leap, right? It's a leap where it's more than just about raising your price, your rate. I can walk you through the numbers. I even have a rate calculator on the website, and it walks you through that. But it goes way, way, way deeper than just the number that you choose as your new rate for your offer or for your services. There's a whole internal alignment that needs to happen. And for a lot of us, it doesn't happen instantly or automatically just because we say we're going to have an offer that's priced at a totally new level. And so that took quite a bit of inner shifting in the work. And that is what we do inside of the academy, and what we do inside there. But just to share with you that once that shift happens, and in the process of that, it really uncovers a lot of the money mindset blind spots in the junk, right? It's like it's given an opportunity to purge itself, and that's a really, really good thing, because if it doesn't, it kind of just stays there under the surface, running the show, but you don't even realize that that's dictating your decisions to even want something, your decisions to buy something, your decisions and how you relate to what you charge, how you feel about how you charge, how you feel about looking at money, handling it. Some people can't even talk about money. And I was the person who did not, I thought being sold to was horrible. So I would go into a store, clothing store, wanted to look at some nice dresses. But I just wanted to look at them by myself. I didn't want help from the sales ladies. I would run away from them because like, no, no, I can look at the the dresses myself. And so what I used to do was I would go into the stores and I wouldn't even like take a really good look at the dress. I would just look at the price tag first. And okay, I'm looking at the price tag. Is this something that I even want to let myself want and desire, or even like consider trying on or trying on? So I'd let the price tag dictate that. And that kind of a behavior was because I had scarcity money mindset programming running the show. It was operating underground. So it was a real transition and transformation to undo that, to unlearn those patterns. But then what do you do? Like you've got to replace it with the positive of what would serve you more. So now I love being served. I love being helped at stores. I love it when they share the best options or maybe options that I hadn't even considered. And I love that. Very, very different. So this touches on one of the key lessons. I'll share this because I think it's pretty easy to grasp. It's that you want to become your ideal client. So if you want to be attracting clients who are totally happy to hear from you, want to work with you, commit right away, are able to pay in full, and then once they're in, they really take full responsibility and do the work. You start by embodying those qualities yourself first. So you be your ideal client. You allow yourself to desire and dream and like to dig into what you really want, admit that for yourself. And if you are needing resources or that new dress or that support or whatever, you are open to that. And you go to that place where you allow yourself to, you know, so this is where I get a lot of questions. Yeah, but I can't afford it right now. Okay. Well, it doesn't mean that you should diminish or squash down the want or the desire for the whatever it is. You might have a dream for a dream vacation or home or dream lifestyle or business or impact or that dream level of support for you, your life, and your business. So you don't squash that down. You allow that desire to raise yourself up. So instead of, well, I would love to, but I can't afford it. Like the thing that follows the but is the thing that is derailing you, is the programming, the paradigm, the mindset that isn't serving you anymore. And so when you hear that voice, when you pay attention and you acknowledge, oh, okay, so that's that's the thing that's been holding me back. Do I want to continue to let the finances hold me back? Do I want to let the price tag on the dress keep holding me back from desiring or allowing myself to want it? And and if I am committed to getting it, figuring out a way to do that. Because when that part shuts down, then there's no further movement. But if you just remain open, if you just allow, so okay, in this moment, the money might not be in my wallet yet. You add the word yet. And I want this. I'm going to go for it. I don't know exactly how it's going to come, but I will figure it out. It starts to spark and open up different possibilities. So then instead of focusing on the story that I was telling myself of like the lack and the limitation, yeah, but I can't do this because look at my circumstance. I started to open up to possibilities and ideas, and the focus shifted toward what can I do to serve? How can I help? How can I grow my business? How can I talk to more people? How can I enroll more people and book and help more people? Do you see? Because then, like, the helping then translates into, not always, but generally through my business, more like an increase in cash flow through my business. So I really encourage that. I really, really encourage that for you. And that really ties in to this fourth piece, which is selling. It's not a dirty S word, by the way. Selling equals helping. And if it feels like a dirty S word, that's a really good clue that there are some opportunities there. There's some potential blind spots that if they were shifted, and we definitely go big time into that. It's like an amazing opportunity gateway into transitioning from scarcity to abundance, scarcity to prosperity, scarcity limitation to freedom. So selling equals helping. So you can basically replace the word selling with helping. I love it when those women in the clothing stores come to help me and everywhere else, not just in the clothing stores. All right, so fast forward a little bit more in the journey. We're getting into one of the biggest areas here. And this has been throughout the whole process of knowing thyself, knowing myself, uh, remembering who you really are and just how powerful you are is really important. And I see people diminishing this. I was diminishing this within myself when they choose not to show up or they feel like they're not confident enough or they don't know enough. And it leads them to either inaction or just playing really small or allowing themselves to, especially now, what I'm seeing a lot is distraction, distraction to the external world, the news, the this and the that. And I believe now, especially more than ever, it's so important to keep in remembrance, reminding ourselves of who we really are, of just how amazing you are, just how powerful you are, and to really release anything that is no longer serving you. So when when the pandemic hit, that was a very interesting time of there's a lot of darkness, but also huge awakening within myself. And it was a series of a lot of questioning, like questioning, well, what's really important to me? What do I actually value? Questioning beliefs that I had held for decades that I didn't even think were beliefs. I just thought, well, that's true. Isn't that the way the world works? And then things got like, topsy-turvied and like flipped on its head. And I was like, oh, maybe that's not exactly how things work. So basically, it was a period of questioning a lot, and I know it's probably ongoing for a lot of people. It still is for me as well. However, the difference now is that I feel much more stabilized. I feel much calmer. I'm not consumed by the chaos of it all. And then if I get moments where I feel like, ooh, okay, I'm letting the outside control me, I snap it, I snap right back in because I have built up how to do that over the years. So I'm practiced in that. I don't know if you can hear. Um, And so in that time of questioning everything, I did feel destabilized. I felt like, what is the core? What is the foundation? Who am I? Like, why are we I was just questioning everything? Why are we here? What's the meaning of all this? And in combination with my questioning and some pretty deep healing, I was very interested in understanding the dynamics of masculine energy, feminine energy, especially in the context of relationship, which actually had a very profound effect on me just personally, not just in relationships, but personally and professionally as well, which was a very interesting, pleasant surprise. A lot of healing with the feminine, the mother energy, healing with the masculine and the father energy. And with that, there were some even uh, deeper gifts that were revealed. And so, um, deepening of my intuition, that's when I got a little taste and a little connection of um, connecting with guides and the ability to channel messages, but it totally freaked me out. It totally freaked me out. I'm like, what is this? I don't understand this. What's coming through? So I actually quickly shut that down. And that shutting down process was it was painful. And you might not have seen it if you were to have observed me externally, but I there's a saying, it's I don't I'm not going to get it word for word, but the essence of it is that it's actually easier to be who you are because the energy it takes to pretend to be someone that you're not is very draining. So I've been seeing this a lot over the more recent years where people are feeling energetically drained or maybe even overwhelmed, or they have like all of these ideas that are coming through, and it's like this explosion of what feels like creativity, but then there are layers of things that maybe are not actually true to you that you've picked up along the way that is adding to the noise and the clutter. And so our our soul's mission right now is more important than ever. And when you get tuned into that, and then maybe like I did for a little bit temporarily, I shut it down. It's painful. It can be painful physically, energetically, it can be draining and overwhelming. And it can come from fear. It can come from like, well, what if no one likes it? What if no one understands it? What if not only do they not understand it, but they really don't like it? What if they don't like me? Like, what if I get judged or labeled? And I really had to look at that. I had to face my own judgments of myself and gifts that were coming through. And when I was able to really face it and shift it and embrace it and understand that, okay, this is actually why I'm here. And I cannot let perceived, like other people's judgments or the judgments that I'm perceiving that they're having of me, hold me back or stop me or playing small, keep me from expressing who I am and the gifts and the other souls that I'm meant to touch and reach. Like by diminishing that, it was it was really painful. So I'm seeing a form of that right now in a lot of people that shows up as tiredness or confusion or overwhelm or just flat out fear because there is so much change with technology, for example. And I'm here to say my stance on that is that if and when you really know yourself and embrace yourself, like who you really are, that is never going to be duplicated or replicated or taken over by or replaced by any kind of machine or technology. Like, because you are you, but we have to own that. It's not necessarily going to be a given because we've been kind of trained and conditioned to be a certain way with our education and our programming culturally and through education systems, for example. So there's new systems for all of these areas, including business and including the business of knowing who you are. So that's number 5. Number 5. Let me know if you like the written notes. It's know thyself. So we want to understand that each and every one of us has divine masculine and divine feminine energies within ourselves. And we want them to be working in harmony, not in opposition. And it's not like one is going to win over the other. Um, we don't want the masculine energy to be like dormant and weak. We want it to be very present, but we also don't want it to be overly like taking over everything into rigidity, right? We want it to be strong and present. For example, same with the divine feminine energy. We don't want to shut down the creativity or shut down the emotions. And in fact, that's what is that's a big part of what makes us us and unique. And that's a big part of what's going to draw your ideal clients and the people who you're meant to work with and serve on your soul's mission too. Very, very important. But we also don't want it to go the other way where it's just we're just consumed by the emotion and like or we're just like bawling or like just upset or like in a funk or like all the time and not able to really creatively, productively, effectively express that. So it's really about the balance and I'm just touching on one aspect of know thyself. There's so much more to it um, than that, but I did want to share that because it's been very, very powerful and eye-opening. And then when I recalibrated and realized, okay, there have been things um, I was raised to be super independent and strong. From childhood, and then I carried that over. So the masculine was very dominant within me. I was cut off from my emotions. And then there would be like sometimes like an explosion of emotions because it was built up and built up and built up and so much so that I didn't know how to productively, effectively be with it and release it. And so it would just explode out of me. And then it felt out of control. And I was like, no. And then the masculine would come in and like take control again. So there was this kind of thing going on within me for years. So I had to undo that, I had to unlearn that and shift that. So now it's much, much more balanced. So when I'm in the feminine and the creative and I'm noticing emotions, I can see that that's allowing access to different levels of information. So I can see materially. So we started with our dream, right? Started with the dream. We understand that we have a purpose here, our soul's mission. We maybe it's not super clear what that is yet, but once we get clear, it's great. We get in alignment, we have our offer, then we connect with people so that we're coming from a helping place and continuing to know ourselves, to know thyself is is huge. So I don't believe that I'm ever going to be done this. It's an ever evolving process, but It's very, very huge. And so then from here is number six, your gifts will become much, much clearer to you, even more refined and crystallized. And this is often the key to, we're talking, about prosperity and business. This piece here is often the thing that many people are not quite able to grasp and see and appreciate for themselves. And I include myself in this. So sometimes the things that you find really easy to do, you think, well, isn't it easy for everyone? Like, isn't everyone a good listener? Don't they also notice the nonverbal cues that are being like, doesn't everyone see that? No, no, not everyone sees that. And that's just one small example. You're going to have your own personal examples. So what we want to do is clear the fog, because if the fog is there, if it's cluttered up, if there's too much noise, too much chaos, the attention is turned outward to the external circumstance, what's in the bank account, what's not in the bank account, what's on the news and what's happening, or what are they not saying on the news? All of that attention is out there. We don't even have the the state of being and the presence to even recognize and tap into the gifts. And we all come with gifts, and it's also up to us now to develop and nurture them, right? It so if I had the gift to tune in and connect with my higher self really easily, and I also have the gift to share, help others to share that and cultivate that within themselves, it's not really of any use, and it lays dormant if I don't share it. So you have your own version of your gifts that, some of them you might, there may be meant more personally, but some of them I know for sure you are meant to share with others. So if you are feeling, so if you just look through the list of the six that we have here, if you just scan this and just feel into which one of the six areas do you feel is the greatest growing opportunity? Or, I say that with nice words, basically, where are you most challenged? Or where are you kind of fuzzy or unclear? Or where do you see that as being kind of underdeveloped up until now? So just highlight that for yourself. Like in my mom's case, she was she was here. She wasn't allowing herself to admit her dream. And sometimes there's like the dream within the dream, right? Like there are layers to it. As you hit certain targets, as you experience those things, and then you realize, oh, okay, now it's a new season of my life. Maybe there's something deeper. There's something more that I haven't explored yet. And that's a part of my soul's mission. So, to wrap up, if you're wanting any help with any of this, this is part of my own personal soul's mission, is to help people be able to live their dreams in a healthy, prosperous way. And I do that by helping to identify any aspects that might be clouding the vision, removing the obstacles, the distractions, the blocks, because I know that we're not here to, operate small and in that diminished kind of a way. Like we are here meant to be fullest version, the greatest version, the fully embraced version of who we really are. And yes, we're all connected. We're part of this unified whole. And you also have your own unique expression of that that's contributing to the unified whole, that's contributing to the expansion of all of us. And my purpose is to help you to fully realize that. So if you want any help and support, I'm happy to help in any way I can. And it does not mean that you're going to be signing up for some some program of mine because frankly, I don't even know if it would be a good fit. There are different offerings that I can help people with. And maybe it's a fit and maybe it's completely not a fit. But if I can help you in any way, whether it's like to another resource or possible next step, I would love for you to connect. And you'll see the link to book a blind spot breakthrough call. And that's where we can go in deeper. So I shared my story because probably somewhere in there, you are on your own journey and there's some kind of overlapping theme there that if I can help you in any way possible, it is my honor. It is my absolute joy and honor to do so. And I also want to know what you're up to. I also want to know what your dream is. So we would start there. We would start there. So feel into what that is for yourself. So let's start there, right? Like you don't have to have all these six things figured out. Let's start with, so what happens in the call is, and you may or may not know this. So if you're a little fuzzy on the dream, that's okay too. It could just be the thing that you know you would prefer. I would prefer more, whatever it is, more time to myself. I would prefer to feel like I'm able to take care of myself and invest in my health and well-being. I would prefer to feel happier, more confident, and calmer through all these changes. I would prefer more dollars in the bank account. I would like, and it might not be your ultimate, like big, burning passion, desire, dream, but maybe it's what you would prefer. We can start there. And very likely there would be some kind of challenge or a series of challenges. And I feel kind of stuck because of this, this, and this. And so that's where we would start. And I listened very carefully and deeply to understanding both what you're saying and maybe what you're not saying as it relates to that underground programming that we talked about, right? By the way, that rules over 95%, probably closer to 99% of you. So that's the blind spot. Once we get clear with that, there are tools to shift it, whether or not you want to embark on that journey, that's totally up to you. But know that there is a system, mentorship, and environment, proper environment to do that. Once we understand the blind spot, it opens things up to understanding how you can really thrive. And from time to time, I've got to reassess and look at my own and oftentimes get help, right? So it's not that I have to do it all by myself. I've got to do the internal work for myself. No one else can do that for me. So no, I'm not giving any power away or credits to anyone else. It's always me doing the work. However, I can enlist support and even as independent as I am, there are still moments where I can feel there's that next level. I can almost taste it and it still feels out of reach. Or oh, I can see it but I'm also seeing a different kind of manifested reality. What's happening here? So then I open myself because I am worthy to receive and I ask for the help. And when the help comes, it's actually just a reflection of an extension of myself. And so let's talk about this as we wrap. Money is just energy. So it's not that um, I used to think, yeah, going into those stores and running away from those sales ladies, I used to think, well, this is the money that I have, and this is all that I have, and I slice up the pie, my pie of money. And if I go into the store and that lady convinces me that I need this dress and it looks so beautiful, and then they take a huge chunk of that pie, a huge slice of the pie that is the money, that's all the money that I have, then I'll be left with less. Ah, why would I ever want to do that? So of course I'm going to run away from, so that's one very limited, like 3D way of looking at it, right? Limitations, scarcity, but if we open up to understanding that, well, when we really understand that it's the circulation, money, currency, it's a current, it's meant to flow and circulate, we can tap into it. And all that is available to us because we are part of all that is. Hmm. Okay. So then instead of seeing it as that pie and like people are gobbling up slices of my pie, I'm just gonna make some more pies. Right? I know how to do it. We're gonna turn on, if I know how to turn off the taps, I know how to turn them on. Right? If I know how to um acknowledge that there's some pie, I can make some more pie. I can make pies here and there, and I can share and distribute and circulate so that other people can enjoy those slices of pie as well. And I will enjoy their slices, right? So I like pie. So it becomes this circular giving and receiving. And when we tap into the flow of that, the energetic spiritual flow of that, we start working in harmony with the true essence of who we are. The limitation, the scarcity, those are all illusions. Those have been manufactured or picked up along the way. They're kind of like they do serve a purpose. And the purpose is to remind us of our wholeness. So when we experience lack or separation or scarcity, it reminds us that we are actually, our true nature is abundance of expansive all that isness and of prosperity, that's the truth of who we are. So we just have to remind ourselves of that. And so we're talking very, very high level now. And then you might be wondering, well, okay, so now what do we do about the real dollars in my bank account? There's a way to translate that into the physical manifested reality. And that is obviously goes much deeper. And I'm not able to cover that in a short workshop like this, but it's totally possible with the three pillars: system, mentorship, and supportive environment. So that is a wrap. That is the journey. I've never presented like this before. And if you resonate with this, I would appreciate letting me know which aspect of the story most resonates with you. And if any aspect of the journey of the 6 points here helped you to identify where you're at. All right. Thank you so much for showing up.